Well, it's a lovely Sunday morning, July 17th, 2016. Canada thistle, Russian thistle, Scottish thistle, and some brown-eyed Susans. I don't know who's singing in the background. At Griffin, Saskatchewan. And this is where I really wish I had a drone. This is the crossing of two railways through here. This is mile 37 of the Grand Trunk Pacific, built through here in 1911, 1912. Was Canadian National's Louvain sub. So if we were 150 meters hanging in the air above the Diamond Crossing, we could look due west along this rail line that the Canadian Pacific completed in 1908. And looking across to the southwest, this is all undifferentiated glacial moraine through here. Potholes and wet places. Some good farmland. Swinging around to look southeast down the Grand Trunk Pacific line. Lampman, the head of the sub, is 37 miles away. And there's CR standing at the crossing of the Red Coat Trail, Highway 13, main thoroughfare in southern Saskatchewan, border to border. Weyburn is 30k off to the right. That's the Griffin town site laid out by the Canadian Pacific in 1907. And looking eastward along the CPR rail line. This is the Arcola, or the Kisby sub from Arcola to Weyburn, the former being about 44 miles that away. And east farther is Souris, Manitoba, and Brandon on the CPR main line. It wasn't until 1912 that CPR built the standard Western Line's A2 station here. It was at mile 43.3 from Arcola, demolished at a date unknown. CPR lifted its rails from this sub by 1993, I understand. And Canadian National tore the rails from the Louvain sub in the mid-2000 aughts. I guess we don't need them anymore. And looking back westward from the eastern side of Griffin, along Highway 13, the CPR station would have stood right down there, along with the elevators. Lake of the Woods, built in 1908, North Star in 1911, UGG, United Grain Growers, in 1928. It was the last one to come down, 1989. And looking into Griffin, this is Treaty 4 territory, signed between the Crown, Crees, and Assiniboine mainly, in 1874. Onto this territory, starting in 1901, 1902, began arriving settlers of mainly British stock. In fact, the RM was called Hastings for the first year after it was established in 1909. Names remembered are the Campbells and the Sullivans, the Clows, the Clucks, Chipman, Charlton brothers. In fact, it was R.B. Charlton who opened the rural post office of Roxborough for the settlers on September the 1st, 1906. He resigned after a year, and when it was reopened by B.A. Tedford on October the 1st, 1907, it was called Griffin, named after F.T. Griffin, CPR land commissioner at the time. And we're on Creelman Street, looking north towards the highway. This appears to be the main business street of Griffin, even though there is a main street farther to the west, east rather. And looking north up Hume Street, the western edge of the town site. The highway's up at the top there. And there's CR smiling this morning, maybe anticipating the golf game towards the end of the day. Looking down Creelman Street past the post office to Front Street, which parallels the Grand Trunk Pacific, which define the southwest corner of the town site, running southeast and northwest there. And that piece of equipment is lying on the Grand Trunk Pacific right-of-way on Front Street here. The station was a Design A, built in 1913. Burned in 1920 and was replaced by a freight passenger shelter that year, while CN built a third-class station which it sold off in 1966. The station stood at mile 36.3 from Lampman on the Louvain sub to Regina. South from Lampman, the North Gate sub carried the line another 40 miles to connect to the Great Northern at the boundary at the port of North Gate. Of course, Grand Trunk Pacific became one of the foundation stones of Canadian National back at the end of World War I, and they are long gone from North Gate. Don't know if there's any elevators on this side of town. And looking north up Creelman past the post office. CPR laid out this town site in 1907 perpendicular to its rail lines, which ran due east-west through here. Regular rail service was established in 1908 and a hotel was built that year. I guess this is the old hall. And come the GTP in 1912, Griffin's economy really took off. There was even a branch of the Weyburn Security Bank built. There's the back of the latest school. A second school might have been built right in here. Boy, there are some building opportunities in Griffin. Look at all the empty lots. This is the newest school, closed in June of 2006, exactly a century after the community established its first school. The first school was replaced by a solid two-room building with a basement in 1924, around the time when Griffin's population peaked at around 200 folks. That second school wasn't saved when they built the new school. Oh, it looks like a curling rink. See, a long one, maybe even a skating rink in there. It is, in fact, Griffin's Rec Center. Nice. Oh, the sign again, east side of town. Griffin was incorporated as a village on July the 6th, 1909. It was dissolved on February the 1st, 1956. Oh, it doesn't look like the Cubs play there anymore. Griffin organized itself into a hamlet in 1981, but reverted to just a hamlet on December the 31st, 2006. The ward of the rural municipality of Griffin, number 66, of which it is the headquarters. There might be the shops right over there. And this is oil country, what we call Bakken petroleums, trapped in formations about a mile below our feet here. It's highly volatile and dangerous to ship in rail cars down east. That's what we do. With West Texas crude selling at about $50 a barrel at the close of last year. Half of what it was the year before. We'll see how long this oil play goes on. As for the famous bank, Weyburn Security was taken over by the Imperial Bank in 1931, which in turn became part of CIBC in 1961. And that bank is long gone from Griffin, Saskatchewan.